recently I flew over to Italy to check out EICMA, the biggest motorcycle show in the world. I have an entire video going through the show and you can check out all the different booths that were there and stuff. But today I wanted to take a second and go through all of the different bikes that got announced, some of which were covered in that video and some of which weren't, and throw them into a rough tier list based on how impactful I think they're gonna be. So, no big intro, let's dive on in with the F tier. Would have been smart for me to have this open before I started rolling. Okay, so starting out the F tier, we have Harley Davidson. And I'm sorry, Harley, this one hits close to home for me because I'm actually a big fan of the brand. And yes, they have some cool new paint jobs that they announced, and they are trying to make their bikes a little bit more affordable with the Street Bob, the Street Glide, and the Heritage all having some cheaper models coming out in the form of the Solo trim. It is important to note though that Harley Davidson does their model year announcements in two parts. They do the carryover stuff at the end of the year, and then at the beginning of the year in January, that's when the new model stuff comes out. So if you're waiting for some new bikes, some cheaper bikes, that's probably going to come in January, and we'll check back with them when that drops. But don't worry, Harley, you have been joined in the F tier by Indian Motorcycles, the other American motorcycle brand, because they continue to not do anything for me. I genuinely don't have any interest really in Indian motorcycles. However, I am going to give Indian the benefit of the doubt now that they are their own company. Let's give them a little bit of time to see what they do, but still, no FTR, like it's still dead. Blows my mind. D tier is starting out with the Norton Manx and the smc-r. The Manx is the naked bike, the smc-r is their super sport thing. These things on paper seem really cool. They're 200 plus horsepower V4 1200cc motors. That sounds awesome. The problem is they wrapped these bikes in these weird plasticky, cheap looking electric bike looking fairings. You can't see the motor almost at all on these bikes, and honestly, next to a bike like the Panigale V4 or the Aprilia V4 or the CF Moto V4, it just doesn't look nearly as good. Now, taste is in the eye of the beholder, so maybe you enjoy it, but it doesn't do anything for me. Joining the Nortons in the D tier is Kawasaki's KLE 500. Now, as a former KLR owner, the only reason why I'm potentially interested in this motorcycle is it's got very similar power and 6 gears. It's exactly what we wanted out of a Gen 3 KLR. The 450-ish adventure bike category is getting super crowded, and honestly, this one's not doing a whole lot to entice me to come check it out, so I'll just let Dork in the Road have this one. Now, I need to jump in real quick to let you know that Quad Lock is currently running their Black Friday sale where you can get 30% off everything in the store. If you've already got yourself a case and a mount, this is the perfect time to grab some of their accessories, like their newly updated wireless charger, which has a smaller profile and supports wireless quick charging up to 15 watts. Or you can grab their mag wallet, which has been a staple of my everyday carry ever since I got it. You can also grab yourself a different colored mag ring, and rumor has it that for KTM owners, the orange one gives you an extra horsepower, so you're literally leaving power on the table by not grabbing it. They don't just do bike stuff, so click that link down below and check out everything they have to offer and get 30% off of everything in the store. It's their best sale of the year and it won't last long. Now, where was I? Now, C tier I consider the middle of the bell curve. Stuff that I'm just like, okay, cool, neat, but there's no real visceral reaction one way or the other. First and foremost, we're gonna have to stick Aprilia's 2026 lineup here. It's not because it's bad, it's just because it's bold new graphics. They do have the new scooter, their 400cc single-cylinder scooter, but as far as motorcycle channel stuff is concerned, it's Shakedown Indigo and yellow. Don't get me wrong though, I absolutely adore that Shakedown Indigo, but I can be honest and say it's bold new graphics. Next up in the C tier, we have the BMW 450 GS, and I know I just ragged on the KLE, which is another 450-ish adventure bike. This one though, it feels a little bit more premium. When I saw it in person, it definitely seemed a lot more in line with the bigger BMWs, the quality seemed a little bit higher in person. Next up in the C tier is CF Moto's 1000 MTX or MTX 1000. It's if CF Moto asked themselves, hey, what if we made an Africa twin? And then they did it. 1000cc parallel twin, aggressive looking adventure bike that's gonna go head to head with the Africa twin, although it is bringing some KTM DNA to the table because it's got those like lower fuel pods on it, which is basically straight off of the KTM. Another C tier motorcycle to me is the CB 1000 GT from Honda. This one is basically right down the middle of the fairway. It's a sport touring bike, basically in line with the Tracer 900. To me, this seems like classic Honda. It's a safe, no risks kind of motorcycle. It's probably going to be a little bit underpowered relative to the competition, and generally it's going to have good build quality. If I get a chance to check it out, I absolutely will, but right now it's not doing anything to froth my loins. Then we have the Yamaha R7 officially taking its position as the discount RS660. One of the beauties of the original R7 was the fact that it wasn't really trying to be this tech-laden, boundary-pushing motorcycle. It knew exactly what it was, and that was a phenomenal entry point into the 80 to 100 horsepower, 650-ish cc sport bike class. Now though, it's got ride-by-wire, it's got cruise control, it's got all this fancy technology on it that, let's face it, it simply did not need, and that turns it into the discount RS660. It's about $2,000 cheaper than that motorcycle, so maybe that'll help, but the fact that it's 20 horsepower slower is a pretty big gap between these two motorcycles, and for me, I think that's worth the upcharge on the Aprilia. Now, in the B tier, we're starting to get into some of the concept motorcycles that just basically have me excited about the future of the motorcycling industry, and one of those is the CF Moto NK-GP with their 675cc triple cylinder motor that basically is a shot straight at Triumph's new Trident 800, which we're gonna talk about in a second. Admittedly, I don't love triples. I just don't love the sound. I don't like the power delivery. They're fine, and a lot of people love these bikes. But what really draws me to the GP is the quality of the hardware around that motor. You've got big Brembos, you've got adjustable suspension, you've got Öhlins, you've got all of this nice tech on there that is trying to set this up as a premium motorcycle. I would absolutely love to take one of these for a rip. Definitely looks more like a synthwave 80s style colorway on a modern motorcycle. Then there was one that I didn't actually cover in my video, and that was the Ducati Hypermotard V2. This is a super cool update to the Hypermotard platform. They dropped the trellis frame, which saved a bunch of weight on there. The V2 power plant is awesome and adds a little bit more punch to that bike, but it really is just a fancier version of the Hypermotard that we had before. One of the nice things is it actually isn't as crazy expensive as I thought it was going to be, so good job there, Ducati. Now, I know this one is gonna upset some Honda boys because I just got done talking about how the CB 1000 GT is like right down the middle of the fairway, but I'm an unabashed Hornet lover, and as a former 919 guy, I absolutely love seeing the CB 1000F. This one is definitely a Hornet replacement here, and I mean that in more ways than one, because back in the day, the old Hornet was underpowered. It didn't handle super great, and other than the fact that the motor was really characterful, it was kind of just a motorcycle. But I don't care because it struck a chord with me. It looks so cool, and seeing Honda bring that back with the CB 1000F, I could deal with a little bit more power. I think 122-ish horsepower is a bit lame nowadays, but I'd really love to get a chance to ride one of these motorcycles just to see how it feels, because honestly, I don't feel any draw towards the new Hornet. This one is actually one that I would want to go spend my money on. In much the same vein, we have the GSX-8TT. Now, I do not like the GSX-8S. I think it's a very plain Jane parallel twin, 80-ish horsepower naked bike. I thought it was one of the safest, most generic motorcycles that Suzuki could come up with. It never really excited me. However, I do think the TT, while it's not gonna solve my issues with the motor, is going to make the bike look a lot cooler. Something about the square headlight on the front, the German flag colorway. The second I saw it, I was like, okay, that is a cool bike. It has a look back factor that the regular GSX-8S didn't have. I don't like doing this because it's so subjective, but the GSX-8TT is in the B tier on vibes alone for me. And joining it in the B tier, last up would be the Moto Morini 750cc Corsard line of motorcycles, or Corsaro. I think it's Corsaro. The logo looks like it's got a D at the end of it, but anyway, there are a bunch of 750cc V-twin sport bikes and sport touring motorcycles. These things are going to set themselves apart from the rest of Moto Morini's lineup because it's finally not the Kawasaki parallel twin. There are so many bikes out there that are using this old 650. Now it's been punched up to a 700, but like the X-Cape, it's a great motorcycle, but for that motor. And now that they have their own V-twin, that's gonna bring an entirely different character to these bikes. Judging by the rest of Moto Morini's lineup, they're going to be super aggressively priced. These ones are gonna turn a lot of people off just on looks alone. It's a little bit like MV Agusta and Ducati got smashed together in a Hadron Collider and then a bunch of the plastic fell off, but honestly, I think they look kind of cool. First and foremost, in the A tier, we have Triumph's Trident 800. Now, I am on record as not liking the Trident 660. I think that the motor itself is kind of boring. I think the bike around it feels kind of cheap and chintzy. However, what we have in the Trident 800 is we have an attempt at making an affordable, approachable, middleweight naked bike. It's got a claimed 113 horsepower with some solid hardware backing it up. Showa suspension, big dual disc brakes up front, and even though it's laden with technology, it's got the rider modes, it's got traction control, ABS, wheelie control, all of that stuff. Best part is this thing starts under 10,000 bucks. So I'm definitely going to check one of these out the second I get an opportunity over at AF1. I'm assuming they'll spin up a demo one of these days. Another quick one in the A tier is the Yamaha XSR GP. I absolutely love the way that this bike looks. The MT-09 is about one of the butt ugliest motorcycles in the industry, and yet that motor in there, it's one of the few triples that I've ridden and really enjoyed. The power delivery is like a liter bike. And now that they've got the new frame on there, the bike actually handles properly. I think if they brought it over here, it would sell like hotcakes. The number of comments I've seen on videos talking about the XSR 900 GP through the roof. Now the S tier is entirely concept based. We don't have an actual production motorcycle here, but they had me so excited for the future of the industry that I was like, you know what? I don't care that I can't ride it. These just look and sound awesome. First and foremost is the CF Moto SR RR Superbike concept, which when I saw it in person, I was like, okay, now CF Moto's talking. This is the bike that's really going to put them on the map with people who aren't just looking for a budget naked bike. This is somebody who wants a premium go fast motorcycle. Now they are potentially going to be able to buy a 200 plus horsepower V4. The active aero on this motorcycle looks so goofy. I absolutely love it. But if this thing can hit the mark, it's really going to be a shot in the arm for the industry. I think it's gonna push some boundaries. But speaking of pushing boundaries, we have a bike that I genuinely believe only Honda could make. This is a V3 V-twin style motor with forced induction, the V3 900R e-compressor. Again, this is a motorcycle we've had rumblings about forever, and yet they actually have a working prototype. They claim 1200cc bike performance out of a 900cc motor, and the only 1200 that Honda has was the VFR, and I think that was like 140 to 160 horsepower, so if they can squeeze that out of a 900 triple, that's nuts. But let me know all your thoughts on EICMA down below and what bike you are most excited about for 2026, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.